Wow. What is Dazn gonna do? It looks like Canelo is fighting on Premier Boxing Champs PBC, undisputed, with Caleb Plant. We're gonna talk about that. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also, subscribe to my channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. Make sure you throw a like on the video, goes a long way. Throw a like up so other people can get to the content just like you found it and get the information the same. Now, I made a video about this. Sources: Canelo Alvarez, Caleb Plant agreed to terms on undisputed super middleweight fight bout. ESPN, boom, you guys see all this detail. Check that video for more details on just the official announcement. Now, I told you I spoke with my sources before this article, and they said the fight was like basically gonna happen. Right now, ESPN is showing this, yada, yada, yada. Dan Raphael, he wrote this the other day, and it's very interesting. It says, Dazon's boxing plans for events in the United States have ground to a halt. With the completion of the Virgil Ortiz fight, there are no fights, no American, read this, there are no American fights, American cards on the schedule from either of its two in-house promoters, Golden Boy or Rematch Room. Now, are you kidding me? No fights on American soil, no cards on their schedule from two promoters. How do you have two promoters with zero fights slated for the fall and winter, right? The article says Matchroom Boxing, which hadn't had a US show since Devin Haney, Jorge Linares, May 29th, had always planned to not do any US shows in June or July, but was planning on doing one for August 28th, which obviously is not happening, seeing how this weekend is August 21st, Manny Pacquiao's fighting, and then Jake Paul is fighting the week after on August 28th, and Dazn hasn't announced this, so obviously that's not happening. So what a pickle Dazn has put themselves in terms of their US fan base. The US subscription fee for Dazn costs more than it does in Laos and Austria, Italy. You can look this information up. So they boast that they're in all these different countries and stuff, but no other country, barring maybe Canada, has to pay anything close to what Americans have to pay. Plus, a lot of those other countries, they still offer a 30-day free trial or some form of that, of a free trial period. America, they did away with the American 30-day trial, and then now this article says they had no fights in American soil for June, July, nor August. And then September 18th, Canelo, after failed negotiations at the time with Caleb Plant, looked like that was the case. They tried to make a fight with Bivol, but for whatever reason, Canelo said he's not fighting and he wanted to pursue Caleb Plant. And look what it says, breaking news. So he went back to Fox PBC. This has nothing to do with Dazn. Canelo's a free agent. You see SportsCenter is posting this. So at the end of the day, Canelo he told you this before too. Once he got released from Golden Boy and Oscar De La Hoya and Dazn, he told you that he was gonna work with different people. Now he's making good on that finally, right? Because immediately after the lawsuit and separation from Golden Boy, he kept working with Dazn for 3 fights. So we were wondering as fans, would he ever get to the point where he started working with a different promoter? And breaking, Canelo Alvarez, Caleb Plant have agreed to terms. So if the problems that we heard the first time around, or actually not even the first time because they had negotiations in the past, but I don't want to make this too complicated. The very last negotiations, why it didn't happen in September 18th, were because of the terms. Caleb Plant, he was saying that Canelo had all these ridiculous demands, and PBC, they gave him as much as they humanly could as respecting him as the A side, but they weren't going to give in to some of the demands, which were foolish. But those things have seemed to be justified and or removed from the contract, and now they agreed to terms, which is usually in boxing, that's the hardest part, to just agree to the basic principles of the contract and the principality of it. Once you agree to terms, you usually see an announcement and or drafts get sent out, final drafts, and you see signatures, right? So this is ESPN. Back to the topic of this video. So with no fights since Devin Haney in U.S. soil from rematch room and after Virgil Ortiz Mean Machine, it's like, what are you charging $20 a month, $100 a year for if you are leaving people in suspense? But it goes on. It says in yellow, you see, I highlighted it for you guys already. According to sources, Dazn is not going to schedule any American shows until it knows what Canelo Alvarez is going to do next. But just as I stated, the great Ego Stradamus strikes again. Just like I told you when I initially read this and did live streams and videos, we knew Canelo was closing in on a deal with Caleb Plant, moreover than Dimitri Bivol. So Dazn, and I made videos about all this. This is why you guys got to follow my channel. I'm the best to do it. I'm the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be on some Bret Hart, the sharpshooter. I went over all this. This is why you guys, if you want to stay tuned with boxing, you might as well subscribe to the channel. It does me a solid, but it really does you a solid if you want to keep up with the sport, because I go over all these things. So I said that Canelo was holding Dazn's budget hostage. Now that we know, according to ESPN, and I told you before ESPN's article, I have sources and they said the same thing regarding the Caleb Plant fight, right? So now Dazn's budget becomes freer if they have a budget or if they have money that they're really divulging into their American boxing program. So we got to see what their schedule consists of. But they've already shot themselves in the foot because we're encroaching on the end of August and Canelo hasn't officially made it official or PBC, but it looks like it's going that way. So now you have to hustle and bustle to try to get a schedule, some type of working schedule. Now that you know you don't have to pay Canelo $25, $36 million or whatever you owe him, right? If he were gonna fight on your network, so that frees up your budget. Now you got to get something cracking and you have very little time to do it. And that's just a huge hit because Canelo is clearly the driver of your business and the biggest star that Dazn has. Triple G, he's hiding out. Canelo already beat him. Triple G hasn't looked as good as Canelo has looked recently. And now Fox and PBC just got the Caleb Plant fight. So it's a historic fight because there's never been a Mexican super middleweight champion that I know of that had all the belts. Yes, you had Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez. He was a champion in the division, but that's not what I just said. I said a champion that had all the belts undisputed. You know, correct me if I'm wrong. Let me know who that person was, but I don't think it's been done. So now you got a historic fight, a good fight on top of that, a name that is recognizable in the States, in the USA, like Caleb Plant. I've covered several Caleb Plant fights. I know Caleb Plant. I got pictures on my phone with Caleb Plant. I've interviewed him several times, right? So this is what Dazn like. So Dazn allowed Canelo to come take the other belts from all the other European Caucasian champions and fight the Turkish fighter Avni Yildirim on their platform. And now they get the short end of the stick because guess what? You have no involvement with Canelo Plant. Eddie Hearn might try to tag along, but Dazn as a whole, that doesn't benefit them, you know? And now they got a fight for all the marbles. So Dazn, I told y'all, they should have reached out to me. You got it. Boxing is a very intricate and specific sport. It's a niche sport, and you gotta honestly know what you're doing to swim in these waters. And Dazn, from saying they were gonna kill pay-per-view, which they haven't done, to the non-sustainable business model that they had, overpaying Golovkin for Steve Rolls and fights like Camille Sesmeta, to losing Canelo based on a contract dispute and language in the contract that was most likely in violation of the Ali Act. I mean, this is just a bad look because with Canelo fighting in the first week of November, right? Then guess what? He's not fighting on Dazn for the remainder of the year. There would be no possible way because November is the last, damn near the second to last month of the year, right? And then you have Christmas and New Year's. Ain't nobody gonna schedule no fights then. And if you're coming off a tough fight, which I think is challenging in Caleb Plant, some people think Caleb Plant will just get annihilated, but we'll find out shortly. So basically, Dazn, they have no American fights on the books as of right now. They have a couple like Ryan Garcia, Jojo Diaz fights that they hope to make, but Golden Boy's talking about losing. This spells trouble for Dazn, people. It says, until Dazn knows whether Canelo will be back on his platform, it is not committed to a fall U.S. schedule. Obviously, Dazn's budget will be dramatically different if Canelo is on Dazn this fall or if he fights elsewhere, which, again, surprise, like I told you, he's fighting elsewhere. Man, this can't be good. And it says there are 2 American dates Hearn is working on, according to sources, even though not set in stone. One is September 18th on the West Coast, and it would likely include Elwin Soto versus Jonathan Gonzalez. Like, this is not good enough, people. You can't go from September 18th, was supposed to be Canelo versus Caleb or Bivol on Dazn, to Elwin Soto. Who is that? And Jonathan Gonzalez. And then they're saying that fight for October they could do is Chocolatito versus Estrada. I mean, I don't see how you win with this. Akhmadov and Ronnie Rios, like these aren't big fights. Meanwhile, PBC, they got Wilder Fury 3, blockbuster. Canelo versus Caleb Plant, undisputed, blockbuster. I don't know if Errol Spence will be back this year. I'm not sure. Pacquiao Ugas this week. Hopefully we get Charlo back in. You know what I'm saying? Gervonta Davis said he's coming back October. Andy Ruiz said he's coming back December. I tell you, they're getting blown out in America. It's just what it is. And this article also says they are interested in Mikey Garcia and Regis, but as I mentioned, that's a good fight. I don't have a problem with the fight, but neither guy is a Dazn exclusive. So do you give them, shell out the money it would cost, millions of dollars for that fight, and then the winner and loser, they have freedom to walk and not be exclusive to your platform? You can't win with a business model like this. I try to tell you. It says Golden Boy has no set dates either, even though there was conversations. So it's like Golden Boy's talking about leaving. Canelo is leaving for the remainder of the year. You know, breaking news. Check my last video about it. It's just like, how is this supposed to work? Especially when you're ongoing in a pandemic, charging people $20 a month or $100 a year, and you can't tell us what the value propositions are. Like, what do you get? And again, I predicted all this. This is my previous tweet. I believe Canelo Plant will be announced on the Pacquiao Ugas telecast because it's Pacquiao fight week. Guess what? It hasn't been officially announced, but we're creeping on the date, and it looks like Ego Stradamus is well on track to be right again. Thank you for your time. I hope you guys enjoy. Canelo leaving is a disaster for Dazn and very hard to deal with, in my opinion. And I gave you the reasons why. Subscribe to the channel, like the video. Hope you enjoyed. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off. And I'm out.